The simple to construct Gade-Marx treadle hammer is the focus of this video. I hope it will convince you of the versatility of the treadle hammer in general. You will also see how well this simple swing arm treadle hammer design handles such a wide variety of a blacksmith's needs. Here in this first photo, you see one blacksmith's treadle hammer tools laid out for a club demo. I don't have that many treadle hammer tools, but you will see several of mine in action. Here I'm going to demonstrate using the treadle hammer to make candle cups. And here I've already made a couple of candle cups on some steel tubing. Oh, by the way, it's always important to plug that far end, especially if you're going to be using a coal fire or a gas forge. Otherwise that end will heat up, and of course if you were to dunk it in water you'd get sprayed with steam, and I wouldn't do that anyway. But so these are to be short little demonstrations just showing the various features. So I made one of these pairs of candle cups using a Smith & Magician kind of tool. This guy right here. And I made the second one using a simple spring fuller, which is simply just made out of a piece of 1/2-inch round stock with a hardy stem welded to it. I like the Smith & Magician approach a little better because then you've even got a sort of another free hand to just help with rolling things and keeping the alignment going. Again, this is to be just a short demonstration showing various features of the treadle hammer, so I'll just go through one heat or so just to demonstrate the use of the fullering with the treadle hammer. If you've made candle holders like this before, you know that you need to start out slow and don't smash too hard until you get things going your way, and then you can lean on it more. Here I'm going to demonstrate fullering, making a candle cup using the treadle hammer and a Smith & Magician kind of tool. You hit real easy at the beginning, but you're flattening a lot of material. So you just start flattening a little bit, then feel your way for the high spots. Don't try to get too aggressive at this point. But again, this isn't a video on how to make candle cups. This is a video on the use of this tool in the treadle hammer. So we have a start here, and we'll keep going here for a minute or two. Again, this is just a demonstration of fullering. I want to keep the heat fairly localized to the fullered notch that I'm cutting. And as you can tell, I'm making 2 candle cups at a time here, by the way. A lot of people use the same technique to make cattails, I might add. But a little bit of heat up the sides so that we get a nice rounded bottom for the candle holder. Treadle hammer makes it really nice because you use both hands to turn the tooling. Again, I'm feeling for the high spot. Don't want to work this too cold. We're coming along nicely. Okay. I don't want to close the hole in the center of the pipe all the way up. I want to leave it maybe 1/4 to 3/16 of an inch. One more shot will probably do it here. And there you are, another pair of candle cutters. One of the many things that I do with my treadle hammer is to make candle drip pans. There are a number of ways to make them, and some ways are faster and slower, but I like to use my treadle hammer because it's really fast and easy. I have this Roger Lawrence swage block, and it has some various indentations, and I use this big one right here, and I center it underneath my treadle hammer, and I put my blank centered right there, and I pick up this pretty heavy farrier's hammer, and then I match it right smack in the middle. And that's what I get. Another use for the treadle hammer is for chiseling out designs in sheet metal, like for instance this one, or this little flower. And one of the advantages of the treadle hammer is that you have total mental control over when the hammer comes down, and you can go from light to very hard taps. For that process, one over a period of time makes many tools for stamping and for chiseling. And here's part of my collection of those tools. We'll now just demonstrate a little bit of chiseling with this piece right here. So I'm going to do just a little bit of chiseling on this part, just to show how the treadle hammer works in this mode. Notice that I have this little extra anvil here. I use this a lot when I want to get the anvil surface up away from the base. So I can hand hold this thing, and I'm up away from the base. So in this mode, I've just got my knee laying against the stand of the anvil, so I've got really good control even over how hard I press. So for doing this process, I just lay my tool, which is kind of rounded here, on the line, and I can just tap just gently, walk it along just gently to make the first marks here. And so if I hit in the wrong place, I've got the opportunity to go back and correct it before it's too late. So there's just a very light line made as I start doing that chiseling. Here now I've already chiseled 2, maybe 3 times, and usually it's a good idea to do an incision in this 16 gauge material by making 3 passes. But the main idea is here, I want to show that I can hit light or I can hit hard. And this piece is just about knocked out of there. And as you can see, it's just about ready to fall out of there as we speak. There it is. And of course, how could one fail to think of using the treadle hammer as a pop can smasher? I'm going to demonstrate drawing out a little bit here on the treadle hammer. Now this is probably not too exciting, but the point is that this is similar to if you were just using a hand hammer, except that you have both hands to hold the stock in. This is just, what, 1/2 inch, 5/8 square, so it's not that big a deal. But if you had heavier pieces, it sure would be great if you could handle it with both hands. We'll try something different in a minute. Just a little more drawing out this way. Now, I've made a fairly junky piece out of this, but I'm fullering with only a 1/2 inch bar. So if I want to clean this up pretty quick, I can use another tool that I would steal from my power hammer equipment. And that's this flatter. So we've done some fullering and we've got kind of a rough edge. We want to flatten it. A flatter usually takes 3 hands, but with the treadle hammer we can have the tool in one hand, the work in the other, second hand, and that big leg muscle doing the hammering for us. And of course this flatter has got a rounded back so that it can conform to the taper and still hit solidly, or the hammerhead hits solidly on it. So we can clean up something like that. Okay, I'm going to try to demonstrate again using tooling in one hand, the work in the second hand, and then the treadle hammer to be the striker for you. And so I'm going to try to make a little mouse, and that's the indentation in this open die, and see how that goes. Did I say a little mice? I mean a little mouse. A1, mouse, mouse. This is his nose, this is his tail. So I've started out with about a little over 5/8 piece length of 5/8 round, shouldered off about 5/8, and then drew back 1.5 inches or so for a tail. And I'll leave it a little big for now. After I'm done with the head of the mouse, then it'll be easy to draw the tail out. I'm going to do this at almost a welding heat. A couple of sparks there. I've already hit it once. There we go. And there's my little mouse. I apparently used a little too much material because I've got some flashing, but he's all there. I don't know if you can see, but his eyes are, nose, eyes, and his ears are there. And of course this will become the tail in a little bit. And again, I got too much material, so I have to work on that. But you certainly get the idea that you know, you can use the tooling in one hand, the work in the second hand, and you still got plenty of control, and you know exactly when to hit and when not, because you're the one brain that's driving the whole works. And if you don't have a second person in the shop, you couldn't do it anyway. Here are a couple of my favorite tools for the bottom of the treadle hammer. This is just a thin stem that allows me to really get up close to an edge, a shoulder, what have you. And this is a real handy one to get things up away. I've demonstrated this when I was doing chiseling before, but it's just really handy. And then of course, there's this plate which I've demonstrated before, which is just plain like a big flat anvil face. So here's some just plain old drawing out. And of course, again, another way if I wanted to draw faster would be to use a handle fuller, and here are 3 of them. I put them this way. Here's a 1/4 inch, here's a 1/2 inch, and here's a 3/4. So now I'll work on that same, drawing that square bar to a point with the 3/4 fuller. A little bit hot. Okay, so I think you get the idea. There's many ways to skin a cat, but many of them include using one hand to hold the stock, one hand to hold the tooling, and a foot to do the hammering.
I hope you are now convinced that your shop needs a treadle hammer too, whether you have any trip hammers in it or not. Here in this final photo are some of another blacksmith's special treadle hammer tools for you to think about.